All right. Here we go. We're back. We're continuing with episode 16. Supernova being dungeon mastered by Carrie Heron right there. And let us transition to group therapy. It's a chance for our characters to check in with themselves and their emotions and see how they're feeling about current events in the game. And yeah, who wants to start? Maybe let's have Eridu start. I don't think we've had Eridu start group therapy in a while. How about
Yeah, I
that?
don't think he normally does that.
Yeah.
Let's see. How does Eridu feel? Uh, well, there's a lot of emotions that happened with the last session was just tense. So there's a lot of things going on. Fundamentally, there is just the sense of relief. Like the whole thing about the memory of his that popped up in the journey through the hells. It's like the seed of his regret and his feelings toward his sister it's all and his feelings toward Egrin. It's all sort of embedded in that one scene. Like that was the moment uh, where that everything in his life he's worked to sort of undo, and that was the moment where he himself, as this little boy watching his father just uh, domineer over his sister and just completely abuse her. Uh, that and his just fear, his absolute fear in that moment and inability to act, that instilled in him this strong sense of like, at my core, I'm a coward. And everything he's done since then has been to try to prove that is not true, which only really works to make him feel like it is even more true. Um, but being able to talk with Leah about that and have that memory just sort of on display for everyone to see, it forced him to engage with it, to reconcile with it, and he's sort of in this space of feeling a little more comfortable, a little more like, okay, yeah, this is something I can handle, and maybe I'm not as terrible as I think I am. Uh, and then there was a interesting insight with Tix in that moment where just like I think Eridu's beginning to understand Tix just a little bit better, and that might be a thing in the future. We'll see. That's pretty much it, though.
Oh my.
Oh my!
Oh, Asa, you're not seeing it. Asa, you're not. Look,
What? What?
look at what Alex has written
What?
right there.
What?
Are
Oh,
you, like,
oh. All right. Okay, yeah. There's a Soter to talk about. I had intended to just kind of like letting that be, and but yeah, there's this tiefling that's pretty, and and apparently maybe there's a little bit of touchy feely things that might help things. Uh, anyway, there's a distraction, and Eridu is happy for that distraction. Um, there was a moment where Eridu definitely went from like, okay, you're fun and flirty to, oh, you've just pissed me off. I touched on it last week to, now I get it, and that's like been a much deeper connection. Is that understanding of Soder has lost something, and he's trying to he's trying his best to find that thing, in the same way that Eridu feels like he's lost something and is trying his best to find that thing. So yeah, deeper connections that might lead to something more, maybe.
Maybe.
And I will say, because Alex and I talked about this off screen, bringing up early in the episode Eridu's previous relationship with Vilren, it was a I had brought that up to just sort of lay down the seeds of this relationship needs to have some level of closure, and uh, and then, unbeknownst to Matt, you know, Eridu and Soter sort of having this connection, it does lead towards that idea of Eridu like recognizing that he can find something great again, and he can have love again, and there could be something more to him than just this ugly demonic face that he is ashamed of.
Word.
It's
I'll
really not that bad.
it's not that bad. It's not. I'll go ahead and go with EIGNER. EIGNER is feeling, well, I think I would echo that feeling of relief that Eridu's feeling as well. Just getting out of the whole hellish landscape that they were trekking through is an absolute relief. EIGNER's also feeling a complicated mix of emotions that have to do with the kind of visions that the party saw. EIGNER was not able to see what the party saw because EIGNER's rather blind, but he was, with everything that he was able to hear, the way the visions were talking to him, like everything, it just brought back some really bad memories because what the party saw is pretty much EIGNER's greatest shame in his life. These events were explored in my last episode, the title of which I'm kind of forgetting right now, just kind of blanking on it, but whatever it was, the last episode that I. Oh, yeah,
Eight of
Eight of
Swords.
Swords, that's it. Thank you, thank you. It was the cool tarot card one. But yeah, during that episode, that was the first kind of exposition, the first look into EIGNER's very troubled past. And, EIGNER was mistakenly thinking that that was an isolated incident and then they can just leave that whole embarrassing thing in the past. No, it came up once again, and EIGNER is embarrassed. He is ashamed. He still doesn't really know how to cope with the fact that these close friends of his. I mean, Eridu's always known, but Eridu's a different case because EIGNER and Eridu just go back so far. It's EIGNER's convinced that, Eridu probably won't ever think badly of him, just because they're so close and they have been for so long. But with these other folks that he's still kind of getting to know, and especially this guy Soter who just walked in, it's like, imagine like just meeting someone and then all of a sudden all of your dirty laundry gets aired and then they see it, it's like they barely know you and then they see the most embarrassing, most shameful thing in your past come to life, you know. So EIGNER is probably going to react to this in the way that he typically reacts to things, where he gets very grumpy and very gruff with people,
And drunk.
and probably very drunk. Like as soon as he has an opportunity to do that. Say whatever you want about EIGNER, but the truth is that he doesn't have good coping skills. I mean, so yeah, he's just got some shit to sort through. He's gonna try and stay focused on the mission, whatever that is. He does think that Soter has a good heart in him, and he believes in Soter's mission as far as like helping to rescue these tieflings, helping out in whatever way he can. He wants to help, but he also just is in a weird spot right now, doesn't know how to emotionally deal with all of this baggage that has gotten dredged up from the past once again. So he's just going to deal with it in whatever way he can. And that's EIGNER.
Okay, I'll go next. So, yeah, it's been a bit of a rough ride for Soter up until this point. So the visions that he saw in the other plane of existence just dragged up lots of heartache and regret and guilt that's been the driving force behind everything that Soter's done up until this point. So, kind of bouncing off how EIGNER is feeling at the moment. He also feels very kind of just like, right, everything, all of my dirty laundry, everything is just in full view of everyone. Whether they realize it or not, Soter thinks that they have cottoned on immediately. But it also was quite a learning moment for Soter as well, because he's not normally privy to these visions that go on down there, just his own. So having that weird connection with the rest of the group has really changed the way that he sees the possibility of working with allies. He's not the only one that may have a shady past or has regret there. And most importantly, after such a distressing start to the trip, on top of all of this, he's feeling very relieved that they actually made it in relatively one piece, and at least it was only emotionally scars. You know, emotionally scarring, not actually physically scarring. And Soter's in a very planning mood as well. He is slowly making up master plans for everything that he really wants to do. And having met with the leaders of the camp, that just threw a massive curveball into everything. And from this roller coaster of, oh no, everything's terrible, to yay, everybody's out alive, back to the knowledge he now possesses, he is a complete and utter wreck. All of these plans that he's been thinking about since everything kind of calmed down a little bit, they're just completely out the window. There's now one thing on his mind, which just so happens to be this visionary girl that everybody managed to see. And that's it. It's just a one idea in his mind, and that's everything else just falls to the wayside. It's going to be hard.
Leah thinks that the chamber in hell kind of picked on her, especially more than everyone else. Obviously hell is all about the guilt. All of those scenes were the things that everyone feels most guilty about. Leah has a lot of guilt, and it just seems like that chamber really got excited about that. Like, she ended up with what? Like 4 different examples of the things that she feels most guilty about. On the one hand, she is kind of relieved to have that one last piece of information out there, even though she really would never have shared her most personal pain with anyone, probably not even Eridu, because it was just so painful. The fact that she was in love once and ended up brainwashing, accidentally culting the man that she loved. That was over 100 years ago, but it's still such a painful memory that she had buried it pretty deeply. But it also is the best example that she can think of to try and finally prove to everyone who knows her how dangerous she is to be around. And she's like, well, if they don't understand it from this, then there's nothing I can do. So in that way, she's glad that it's out there, but she's also, the problem with her is that she can't put any of that behind her in the way that, like, there's no resolution for her in the way that maybe Eridu might have had, or EIGNER, because in her mind, the things that she is most guilty about are still actively a part of her, and she can't get away from them. Point in case being that she culted Ellie simply by, well, now in that case, it wasn't just by caring about Ellie, it was actually a deliberate action that she took. So that, yeah, she'll eventually parse that out as well, and that'll just make her feel more guilty. So that's, that's good. but just knowing that she is still a danger, that all of the things that have caused her this guilt and agony in the past are still with her now, and she still can't get out from underneath them, has been a huge factor in why she is slowly spiraling. And that hasn't stopped. Which is why I think when we left her, she was sitting on a bench with her head in her hands, causing everyone to give her a very wide berth because she's just radiating real bad feelings. So yeah, that shit. Yeah, it's gonna be difficult. That's what I've got.
Well, alrighty then. Take it away, Carrie.
Okay, so I think we're gonna pick up today with Eridu going to find Leah. So at the end of last session, Leah kind of went off, and you found somewhere to kind of sit by yourself and deal with things. So I think we'll start with Leah on her own, and then bring Eridu in, come to find her, just in case Leah wants to do or say or think anything while she's on her own. So
Sounds spectacular.
what's Leah doing?
Yeah. What is she? Well, obviously she's sitting there feeling miserable, but also she is trying to, not necessarily trying to climb her way out of it, but trying to figure out what to do with it. She, like, not only does she have now the freshly stirred up memories of her culting abilities, but she also relived the memory of what she did to Agrian, which was a very strong low point for her. In fact, was one of the things that almost sent her into suicidal thoughts last time, before Ellie was the one that kind of pulled her out of that. And so she's got that on her mind as well. And she's also fully aware of the fact that she is probably emitting things, and which is why she tried to find as out of a way place as possible. But basically she's just going over and over inside of her own head, like what she could have done differently, what she could possibly do now, and what she will say to people if they ask her about it.
All right. So we'll have Eridu come into this now. You find Leah sat on like a bench somewhere, kind of on her own. The area around her is like completely cleared out now. There's like no one within a decent distance of her.
I'm trying to recall what happened at the end of last session. So I was with EIGNER talking with him, and he was getting drink, and then I said I wanted to go check on Ellie or check on Leah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think EIGNER or Eridu would just come and sit down next to Leah and take her hand like he did when she was walking her through something, and then just sit there.
She'll silently probably just lean on him.
Eridu's not going to start any conversation. He just knows right now that Leah's tendency is to be alone when she's really troubled, and that's not always the best thing.
I think eventually she will speak up. She'll, after a couple minutes of just silence, and say, you saw what I did to Agrian, didn't you?
That was back with the bomb, right?
Yeah, it was actually just after Eridu had left the rooftop to go grab the bomb. So Leah and Agrian were completely alone on the rooftop, and that was like one of the reasons that she was so keyed up, was because she was pretty sure Eridu was about to die, and then she was positive that everyone was about to die, and so she kind of snapped and power word pained her own dad.
Eridu just nods.
You don't have anything to say about that? I kept telling you not to become angry, and I kept trying to convince you not to do these things that, like, when you just prior to that, when you had that healing staff and were torturing Agrian with that, I stopped you, and then I did this. Don't you? Do you have anything to say about that?
No.
You're a very annoying brother, you know that.
Yes. Look, you have your own perspective about what you think you did, and you have clearly felt very bad about it. I can't say that I do. I know it goes against what you believe your powers should be, but Agrian is not a good person. I mean, we know that. And perhaps sometimes evil needs to be punished. Did the memory last long enough for Agrian to say the line about? Wait, was that the time when Agrian had said something about being proud of her, or like something along those lines?
No, that he said he was proud of her when she attempted to kill her. I think. No,
Oh,
maybe
that was in the Shadowfell when she had been able to actually project her stuff onto him. And he
Oh, in the
was-
Underdark.
Yeah, the Underdark. He was impressed by that. That's right. Never mind. So different conversation.
Yeah.
He needs to learn to fear you. Because fear is the only way that he sees respect.
It feels like stooping to his level to be able to do that. It feels like a true victory would be beating him by doing the opposite of what he values. But I guess we don't always get what we want.
I think you're right. Nothing would make him more proud than to see us fall from the ideals that we carry. Because that to him would be breaking us, and then bending us to his will. I've seen him do it to others. I know his powers of manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
But what I saw was a woman who was not afraid. Not afraid of the tyrant that stood over her all of her life, and not afraid of the power she yields. I saw someone step forward and do what she had to when all else was lost. That might be stooping to his level, it might not be. I am not the judge of that. But it was effective.
I would love to have the power to change the world for the better. I would love to be able to actually have an impact that makes the world closer to my ideals. That I would love for that to be a reality. But the stakes are too high for me. I can't. I hate having to be at war with myself at all times. My own good intentions are my worst enemy. I don't know. I don't see a way out of it, but I guess in the meantime, I will just try to support the people around me as best I can. And try to walk that very fine line.
I don't consider myself to be a very wise man. I'm a clever man, but not very wise. So take my advice as that. The words from a clever man. All you can do is what you think is right. And everything else, what others respond to, how they believe, what they feel, none of that is up to you. Even if you can control their emotions, it's euphoria, and it doesn't last. Your powers are strong, but I think you give yourself too much credit. I think you think too highly of those abilities. Not enough to realize that, look, it's a short moment, and then people return to who they were.
Sometimes. You know, you saw what happened with Kai, the man I loved. He went on to start a cult that continues to this day. Just prior to when you and your friends showed up, you, Agrian, and your companions showed up, I had buried a man who was a member of that cult that sought me out on some sort of a pilgrimage. Unfortunately, my own anxiety killed him. But the point is, it's sometimes the consequences last longer than you think.
Then do what you think is right. I trust you.
I suppose that's the advice I'd be giving to anyone else in my situation. Thank you for listening.
I'm always here for that.
I know.
Instant.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry that longer than expected.
No, it's good. It's all good. Okay, so I'm going to move to Soter, who is in the tent with the kind of leaders of this little resistance refugee camp. These are kind of people that, you know, Soter, you kind of started this whole movement, but these are people that ended up kind of running it overall, like keeping organization going. But you're kind of like their number one person that they would then come to kind of get in and out of places. You've just been told by the leader, who's a Tiefling woman called Macaria, that she believes there is a girl that knows where Demir is, and that you need to rescue this girl, including her baby brother. I think we kind of ended on that, like, bombshell. So we'll pick up after you having just heard this news.
Whew. Okay, so I bomb it out of the tent like nothing on earth. I literally sprinting like I've never sprinted before. And unconsciously, I start to realize that I'm heading towards where the group disbanded. And kind of, I'm sort of dodging in and out of all of these Tiefling civilians, and then it hits me that I'm looking for help. So it strikes me that there was certain questions about where to procure some alcohol. So I start running around trying to find anybody I know who would be a purveyor of fine spirit.
Yeah, you would probably, your first instinct would be to go to where like rations are given out. It's kind of, there isn't really like a bar in this place. That's kind of where people go. So you would head probably straight there. EIGNER, around. I think they went outside, and he was kind of sat then on his own drinking.
Yeah,
if I
there was
remember
like
correctly.
there was a stump that was like close to that thing, and Egner's pretty much still on the stump, just like dealing with his feels.
So you would see Agner from a distance as you start approaching this.
So I just run straight up to Eigner and kind of forgetting that he can't really see me. I'm running towards him, kind of like flailing my arms, waving, because I don't want to cause a scene in that I start shouting at the top of my voice, but I will certainly run towards him with my arms flailing. And yeah, I run straight up to Eigner and I kind of grasp his shoulders and kind of give him a good shake. And Eigner, where is everyone?
Egner gets a little freaked out, like he wasn't expecting this kind of like level of just in your faceness. He goes, ugh, and his bottle is shaking, and you hear the sloshing of the spirits within. And he goes, "How am I supposed to know? I don't know if you can remember Soter, but I can't see. I can't see where everyone is. And furthermore, I don't care where everyone is right now. You know, I'm dealing with some shit right now. Okay."
Okay, but I left you with everyone.
Yeah, and then they went off to do things. I mean, look, I'm not their mom or whatever.
Okay, right. We need to find them. Do you know where they might even be?
I mean, I imagine they haven't gone very far. Look, I can smell Eridu from a mile away. Let's just start walking, and at least I can find Eridu. I mean, no promises with Leah. She likes to go off on herself a lot. I mean, she might come back to us. Is how that might go. But yeah, like I said, I can find Eridu easy. Let's just start walking around.
Right. Okay, let's go. Let's go.
All right, glug. Let's go.
Right. Is there any of that spare?
Yeah. I mean, you could take a couple of swigs, but
Thank you.
I was gonna say I paid good money for that, but no, they just gave it to me because they're so sweet. So he's gonna be a little more generous with it and say like, yeah, have some.
So Soter just kind of forcefully-ish grabs the bottle out of Igner's hand and just does a nice big gulp before passing it over. And just, right, we need to get them. We need to get them. We need to go. We need to go now.
All right, okay. He takes it back, and then he just starts walking, and he'll open up his ears and open up his nose specifically, trying to smell the very lavender-ish scent that Eridu usually puts off. And Egner will turn to Soter and say, Soter, what's gotten into you? I didn't know that you like to party. And he jiggles the bottle a little bit.
Well, that's because we had what was coming to us the last time you were partaking in firewater. But yeah, no, we need to go. We need to go.
Are we in danger?
No, we're not in danger. We're not in danger at all.
Okay, good.
And Soter just kind of looks around and just kind of mutters under his breath, "She's alive. She's alive. She's alive." How close are we, Egner?
Well, first of all, I can hear that. I got the super hearing. Whatever you mumble, old Egner can hear it. And let me go ahead and roll a perception check to see if I can figure out where our good old buddy old pal Eridu is.
It's like I don't need to say anything at all.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Checks get thrown out there without me even.
Well,
I was gonna say it, so it's fine.
We might be walking around a little bit longer because I rolled a 2 and a 3 on the old sniffer here. So that's gonna be actually it's a 12.
Alright, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We're a self DMing bunch here.
So it's kind of hard for you to actually start picking out smells because you are in a forest, so it's already like, you know, nature. There are flower and like floral smells coming from just what's around you anyway. And there are a lot of people in this area. But you do, after a little while, not even that long, it's not a big place, kind of pick up what you think to be Eridu's scent. As you start walking in that direction. So do you also kind of, you notice, even though you're kind of very distracted, that Bo has started flying ahead of your group. And she seems to be going in the same direction as EIGNER is sort of like navigating you. And as you keep walking, you realize that there are sort of less and less people until you get to a point where, EIGNER, you're hit with like a wave of feeling that you would recognize to be Leah's. And then as you get closer, Bo eventually comes to a stop and she hovers just over Leah's shoulder. But you do see them, and you can approach.
Cool.
Can I
Okay.
say one thing? Oh.
Oh.
Well, I just remembered a long time ago I was going to tell Kyle what Leah smells like so that he knows like he knows what Leah's distinctive non-sight visual cues are, and she has a particular soap that she's made herself back when she lived on the subtropical climate, and it basically smells like persimmons.
Ooh.
But it's much more faint than Eridu's
For sure.
because it's just
I like it. Exotic soap.
exotic soap.
Very
And
good.
eventually it's going to run out, and then he's going to have to learn a new scent. But you know, whatever.
Just gonna have to get that good old body odor smell identified.
As long as you don't
Anyway.
smell like Axe body spray, we'll be okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Very unlikely. Carry on.
All right, so we are there. We're right in front of him. And EIGNER, in confirmation, will just grunt and then take a swig of the bottle.
We'll soon be coming along the scene of just, you know, Eridu and Leah sitting there in silence, most likely.
So as we kind of approach, I want, as I get those visual cues of sort of Eridu and Leah sitting down there, I very rapidly increase my pace, sort of to the point where I'm kind of pulling EIGNER along behind me. And it's roundabout then I see Bo kind of next to Leah's shoulder, and I just bomb it at that point, and leave EIGNER to hopefully fend for himself at that point. And I just come running up and I go, "We need to go. Are you ready?"
Yes,
Go where?
I think we are.
For what
Fine.
purpose?
Like, it's hard to explain, but if we go now, it'll be so much easier.
All right,
Well.
just as long, glug glug glug. Just as long as we don't go back the way we came. That shit sucked. Is there any way that we can like go a different way than that way?
I mean, we can if you want to spend who knows how long to get there, or we can go the tried and tested route, and with luck, you know, Bo will actually remember where she's coming out again, and we'll be good. We'll be there in like no time at all.
Okay, so we just have to trust your moth, is it? Just your little
Yeah,
uh
yeah. The sparkly thing next to Leah.
Okay, yeah, I'll put all my trust in a little tiny thing that can't even speak. Sure, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That. Well, she can speak.
really?
It's not my fault if you can't hear her.
Oh, hmm. Okay. EIGNER has a very suspicious look on his face, but he doesn't say anything more.
Okay, so we're all agreed. We're ready to go.
Soter, I promised I would help you. Actually, I never promised, but I said I would help you, and that's good enough. However, are you sure you want me to be around to help you? You've seen what I can and can't do. You know that my powers are not useful.
Well, I hate to say it, but that is a ridiculous understatement. You got us through everything down there.
I caused 2/3 of everything down there.
You you did not cause 2/3 of everything down there.
Okay.
Without you, there would have we probably would have lost Eridu. And let's face it, you can do amazing things. You will be perfect for this. And I just kind of go up and I pop my arm around her shoulder and I go, look, it's going to be absolutely fine. Without you, let's face it, nobody else is going to come with me. And to be fair, it's kind of a preferably all or nothing scenario here. We got on pretty good down below. I think we've got something good. I think we've got something good, but we really should go.
I told you I would help you. I will help you.
Great. So I sort of turn to Eridu and EIGNER and I go, right, so I can assume that you guys are coming, right?
Eridu's got his sideways smile, and I am strangely intrigued now. Of course I'll come along.
Great. EIGNER?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I want to help too. I just would rather not go into hell again. But yeah. Look, I'll trust your little flying thing, Bo. It's good enough for me.
I've learned the hard way that it is best to trust Bo.
Okay.
Didn't
EIGNER still has a
trusting
suspicious
Bo
face.
get Soter in Bronzewood Grove in the first place? Like
Maybe.
a complete sidestep.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But it seemed to work out great, so.
Exactly. Bo is an all-knowing bug. Bo knows her way around the universe.
She knows her way around a universe. It's
Mhm.
not the first one she's been to.
Okay. Right. So, do you guys want anything before we go?
I got mine. Sorry.
I will say, no, it's okay. You're all very aware that when you set off, it was like nighttime. It was like, you would be going to bed, and it's now like early morning.
Not nighttime?
Morning, yeah. So you are feeling tired. Like you can feel that sort of tiredness starting to drag on you. But yeah, other than that, it's your call. Really, push on.
I mean,
At some point, will we need to rest then?
Well, you've not rested for it. Time was odd for you where you were, but it feels like you've been awake for a day and a night now. So,
I think we could do for a rest.
In fact, Leah will, once she kind of realizes this, will say, Soter, I think we should wait at least another 4 hours or more. I have much better control after I've had my personal ritual, and will be much less likely to affect EIGNER, for example. if I've had a chance to kind of get that under control, I will be a more valuable person in your party if you're able to wait that long.
But the the longer we wait, the higher chance of failure.
You know we will have to rest at some point, though, but in order to even function.
Yes. But I just this is the first time that I have heard anything in so long, and if we lose this,
If time is absolutely of the essence, then I will abide by whatever decision you make. I would prefer to be able to come at this with the best control that I can offer.
right about this time, sort of Bo starts sidling back over towards me, and I just look up at her and I go, "But come on, we're so close. You can't. Come on. You know what? No. Ugh, I hate you. I absolutely hate you."
Who, me?
Mm.
No.
What have I done to you?
He's talking
No.
to the moth again.
No, EIGNER.
Oh.
I'm talking to Bo.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's kind of confusing because I can't hear Bo talking back to you. I'm sorry. Sorry for the confusion.
Honestly, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Right. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Eridu's gonna put a hand on Soter's shoulder and say, "Rested minds can think clearer than exhausted ones. Whatever happens, if we are rested, we can figure out the next step. If we rush in, completely off our wits, we will fail. And whatever it is you're trying to prevent or save, we will be no closer."
And you just kind of see Soter's face, a horrible mix of emotions, and he just sort of spins round with his back to everyone and just goes, "Right, I'll see if I can find us somewhere to hole up, and we can rest for a bit and grab some food, and yeah, like if EIGNER wants some more juice, then we can get some more juice." And
Actually, some food sounds really nice right now as well.
Gotta absorb some of that alcohol.
Yep.
I've been meaning to talk to you about that, EIGNER. Perhaps with what we're doing next, we should give the spirits a bit of a rest.
Look, no, it's fine, and I can fix myself now. I know how to do that. I'll just do that when I need to.
I don't think you're as capable hungover either.
Look, Eridu, you really shouldn't be the one lecturing me about substance abuse, alright?
Aw, shit.
Dropping the mic.
Have it your way.
I
Then
will.
Eridu will curtly turn and walk away.
Gotcha.
Walk away where, though? Like,
I don't know.
Eh,
Just
somewhere.
general direction of somewhere else. If Soter went to go find them lodging, he went to go follow Soter.
there we go.
Yeah. So we're heading toward a long rest kind of deal?
Soter, what's your plan? How are you?
So I was going to head over and see if I could find us a place for the entire group to sleep and possibly do a quick ration run for everybody.
Okay. You would fairly easily be able to find a couple of tents that are free at the minute. You have your own tent, but it's up to you if you want to like stay in the same one as them or your own. And you can get rations. That's super easy. So you are all sort of given a couple of tents between you. Going straight into rest, or
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
So I would just like to do a quick thing if I can. So I'll show everybody to their tents and, hand out rations, and I'll just sort of say to everybody as I'm leaving, so I'm going to go back to my tent tonight. I'll probably be up before you, and I'll just come on down. But if you need me, just everybody knows where I am, so you can just ask anybody. They're all lovely, lovely people. And I sort of head over to my tent, and as I sort of getting ready for rest, I go into a little sort of chest type, very small thing that I've got in my tent, and I just have this small scrap of paper with a message on it, and I just read it over and over on my bed mat, and just that's what gets me to sleep.
I'll just point out that Leah is going to be doing the longer version of her ritual tonight, or at least part of it, because she has not yet dealt with the Ellie situation insofar as her special coping mechanism goes. But I don't need to go into details of that since that would require some trigger warnings, I think. So it's kind of up to you.
So is that for like after your rest or before your rest?
It's usually before the rest.
All right. Okay. Yeah, maybe we'll kind of like we'll gloss over it this time around.
Yeah. Okay. Then that's what.
I will just say that EIGNER, when he gets into his tent, wait, I missed this detail. Are they individual tents, or are we like in one tent?
There's two tents between you, so you can kind of basically divvy it up how you want.
Oh, okay.
There's two between three, so.
Oh, for sure. Well, EIGNER, whether or not anyone else is in the tent with him, he will kind of go through this process where maybe there's like a little table next to the bed. He puts down the bottle of spirits on it, and then he goes through the process of taking his armor off, taking the sword off. As he's doing that, he realizes that he's a little more loopy, and that kind of state you get when you're drunk, and then you're like moving more than you totally intend to. So he's just kind of sloppy about it. And then at some point he moves too much, knocks the table, and then the bottle of spirits just falls to the ground and alcohol just spills everywhere. And he looks down at it and almost makes for like going to go save it, and then he stops himself and just grunts in this angry way and throws his breastplate down to the ground and then just flops on the bed. Goes to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, Eridu will, make his way towards the tent that EIGNER's not in, and if it's where Leah's performing her ritual, he will be too busy meditating to notice. because he is very irritated with EIGNER and now is using this moment of meditation to get control of his emotions again.
So, actually, I'm going to bring it around to... So, Leah, as you're starting your ritual, so beginning whatever the process, describe to me then the, like, opening few actions of your ritual.
Yes, I now when I described it before, I wasn't really including anything that Senna might have added in. So it's possible that she also has things like certain candles lit, herbs and things, because that's kind of Senna's MO. But she starts out by journaling essentially, and reliving whatever's been going on in her day. And then transitions from that to the portion of the ritual where she reviews her many points of guilt. And if she's not actively adding more guilt, then she will just go over the list of names of the people that she's hurt, kind of recite them to herself essentially. And then she does her actual rest and meditation. And then the final part of the ritual is just her putting herself back together again at the end.
Okay. Saying as like, I'm going to say that actually maybe you are adding to it
Okay.
at this point. However, as you take out the tools to do so and are about to sort of make the first mark like that, and Eridu doesn't notice this because, as you said, he is too deep in meditation to be sort of picking up on what's going on. A familiar moth flutters in to the tent. Somehow has made its way through and around the cloth opening. And also Soter, by this point, like, you're asleep. You've not noticed that Bo has left. And she flutters down and lands on your hand, the one that you're about to use. What do you do? What's your reaction?
Just kind of curiosity, being like, I don't know what you're doing here. I guess, let's see. Eridu's in the room, but he's deep in meditation. Leah will probably just say quietly to Bo, I don't know what you're doing here, and then continue to attempt to do the thing that she's trying to do.
As you say this, she leaves your hand and lands against your cheek. And before you have chance to react, your vision goes white and you're plunged into essentially a vision. Like, you can tell once you kind of acclimatize to what's going on, you can tell it's a vision and not that you've been like teleported elsewhere. As you look around, you are in a clearing. It's not one that you recognize, but it seems to be just like a peaceful clearing within woodland. You are sat in the same position that you were sat in when you were about to do your ritual. However, you don't have any of your like tools or like anything like that with you. It's just you.
Mm-hmm.
As you kind of look up, you notice a woman walking towards you, and you very quickly recognize her as Shah. And you've not seen her, you know, what she looks like for quite a fair amount of time now, like since you actually met her. And she is seemingly dressed in like a very simple robe. There's nothing like flashy. And she makes her way over to you with a gentle smile. She looks like she, you know, has seen a friend. And she comes and sits down cross-legged in front of you, kind of matching your seating position. And smiles at you and says, I've sensed your distress, Leodin. Your journey with Soter was tough on you, I know. I knew it would be a challenge for you, but I also knew you would be able to handle it.
Why are you here?
Well, I've given you a lot of time to think about our previous conversation, and I've become more and more aware that I perhaps didn't give you enough reasons to want to help. So, well, I'll be honest. I've been keeping an eye on you and that brother of yours. It's been interesting. I'll say that you do associate with some unsavory people. But yes, I thought it was time that we reconnected.
Why haven't you helped your people? Soter said that there was like he didn't seem to understand that you were free again. I could have sworn that you said that you were going to help them. You know you don't need me for that.
She smiles at this, and there's like a slight chuckle, but not in like it doesn't feel like an evil or a mocking way. It's just sort of like just a slight laugh. And you watch as she kind of puts her hands down into the grass and starts to like play around with it, you know, like a child would when they're sat in the grass trying to like pick at the grass. And then she just says, "Yes, well, Soter did say that, but he wasn't exactly telling you the truth. He's very much aware of my presence. I help Soter on a daily basis. Soter is where he is now because of me. As are many of the Tieflings. His whole camp is there because I helped him. And I'm trying to help the rest of the Tieflings. Once I was released, their powers did increase. More and more sorcerers appeared. Whatever it was stopping their birthright to magic linked to my powers seems to have been released, and now their powers are growing. My clerics are back. But the SUMAREA, they picked up on it quickly, and they're not taking very kindly to it. So why I've come back and why I sent Soter to find you. Yeah. I still need your help.
What do you envision me doing for you?
You have ways of, shall I say, reaching a lot of people. I told you before, I need an envoy. Soter does a good job. Soter is a talented young man, and he has taken up his family lineage well. I am impressed at how quickly he has picked it up. However, he is quick to act on things. He is impulsive, but, you know.
Yes, he
Well, youths will be like that, I suppose. However, you're more measured. You may think that you don't have control over your emotions, but in a way that makes you more stable in these situations. You have more control in that you are aware of the situation.
I have no intention of placing myself over the Tieflings in any sort of way. That is not my place. If you want someone to speak to the other races on your behalf, to sort of pave the way, I suppose, encourage peace, encourage empathy. If I had a way of guaranteeing that I wasn't actually influencing their minds with my power, I would be willing to do that. But I can't force people to do what you want them to do. Even if the results weren't permanent, I wouldn't want to do that. It's wrong.
I understand. And after having watched you since we last met, I have come to know your way of thinking and the way you act in these situations. I'm not asking you to take control of the tieflings. They don't need that. They have their own strength. They have their own power. I mean, they're already being controlled as it is. I would like to remove the control rather than add more. Talking to the other, I don't think that's going to work. That my concern is they're already strong powers within themselves against one person, especially if you're not wanting to use your powers on it. Talking doesn't get anywhere with these people. But this is something we'll think about over time. This isn't the first time I'm going to pay you a visit. I would like to get to know you a little bit more on a one-to-one basis. No, I didn't come here today to make you the offer. I just came here to perhaps help you, and to just shed some light on some of the situations that are happening. Leiden, tell me, do you know where you draw your power from?
I do not. It came on some point in my adolescence, I think before I turned 100. And it was very small then. It's only grown since then. And I have never known where it came from. I've only sometimes learned ways to control it or channel it. It's never felt very consistent.
No. And have you ever wondered why you would be asked to hurt yourself to keep control of it?
Oh, the ritual is not, it's not really about controlling myself through pain. It's about teaching myself to not forget what I've done and to have a constant reminder that I can't become complacent. That part of the ritual is as much my choice as anyone else's.
You say that it's not about causing pain to control it. However, would you not argue that reliving the grief of hurting those around you every single day is still pain?
Oh, it is. It is. It's just, it's pain by choice. It's a way that I can promise myself to do everything I can to keep these things from happening again. And it's very unfortunate that I never seem to be able to make it work or stick as much as I wish I could. But I owe it to the people that I've hurt to keep them fresh in my memory.
Well, perhaps unfortunate. Perhaps more of a thought out decision. Not by you. Please don't get me wrong. Who or how did you learn about doing this ritual? Who told you that this is a way to control this grief and to mark these moments? Did you come up with that yourself?
Honestly, I yes and no. Much of the ritual was given to me by my mentor, Senna. She's also the one who has been able to, at least in some parts, show me ways to control and channel my powers as much as possible. Unfortunately, the lack of control in most cases can't be mitigated as much as we would like. The way that I mark myself is something that I started doing in earnest after my exile and after I hurt the people that I cared about the most. It was an adaptation of the ritual that Senna gave me.
Interesting. Look, Leodin. As I said, I'm not making you the offer today. However, I thought it would be good to be upfront with you and clear about things. I want your help, and that will involve using your powers. However, I am able to offer you things in return. Currently, I know where you're getting your power from. This is not a hard thing for a goddess to pick up on. I will say, you're not even getting slightly the amount of power you could be getting if you chose a different patron. However, this is what you've chosen for now, I suppose, so we'll continue. I just will say that some of the people around you perhaps trust more than you should. I'm not here to confuse you and to turn you against your friends in the slightest. I like your friends. They're interesting to watch. But other people close to you, I just wouldn't be quite so trusting about some of the things that they say. However, while they are manipulating you and using your powers for their own gains without being upfront about it and without offering you any real benefit other than... I'll not get into that. I'm going to be upfront about this. I'm going to make you some offers that hopefully you can't refuse. I will say I know about your brother's current situation. Taking that creature into hell wasn't exactly what I wanted to be doing, but I also couldn't really afford to leave him behind. Besides, if he didn't come along, I don't really think he would necessarily have stuck around too long. You two seem attached at the hip most of the time. I can help with that situation. I can also help with the situation with your friends that you left behind at the Grove, is it? I believe you call it the Grove. In fact, let me show you something. Just again, this isn't an attempt to distress you or confuse you or make you feel any sort of guilt. I am fully aware you already experience daily guilt for these things. However, there are some things that I'm going to show you over the next few days, next few visits. I'm just going to start with this one. And she leans forward and goes to touch a finger to your forehead. Do you...
Well, I'm jerked back a little, and
Okay.
But that's pretty much it.
Yeah. She pauses. She doesn't like lunge after you or anything. And she says, "Don't worry, it won't hurt."
No, let's get it over with then.
She touches a warm. Her hand, like her skin feels like hot to the touch. She touches a finger to your forehead, and your vision blurs and then picks back up again. And you're looking into. So you're not there. You can just see into. It's like you're casting, like scrying on something. You're looking into a small makeshift wooden room. There are 4 people sat in this room. Their heads are bowed and their hands are held. And one of them you kind of enter into the scene. So one of them is saying a word and the other 3 chant it back to him. and he is saying feelings, so like happiness, and then the three of them chant back happiness, and sadness, and then they chant back sadness. And as you kind of look a little bit closer, you recognize these people. You recognize these as 4 guards that were in Twin Harbor. And you remember casting confusion and fear on these people. 2 of them you know are ISCB members that were posing as guards, and 2 of them were normal townspeople guards, but they now sit together in the same room as if one, basically. And as the vision pulls away, after you see this scene, you're left back in the little clearing with Shah, and she says to you, "I presume you recognize them?"
I think so. Maybe. That was one of the first acts I did after coming back into the world, was trying to stop them from fighting while we were on our way to find Jaren in Twin Harbors.
Yes, one of the first acts. I chose not to show you some of the other seeds you planted earlier. However, I will say they are there. Again, this is not to further distress you, and I understand that it probably will, but this is all in the effort to show you that I can help you, Leodin. These men have started calling themselves the Fathers, which I think sounds familiar to you as well. And this isn't an uncommon theme between people that have been touched by you since arriving on, well, not this plane, but the one you're currently on. However, there are small seeds in each of your friends. They're not big seeds, and they haven't been fed or watered or whatever. But they're there. But I can take them away. Your current patron shows no real interest in helping you remove these issues, which, I mean, I don't think that's really a very responsible way to be as a patron, frankly, but what do I know? I've been trapped away for hundreds of thousands of years. I can help you clean up these problems in a safe way. I don't want you to think that, you know, these people are no longer going to walk the earth. I can remove the seeds, and I can also prevent future seeds from being planted. However, the only way for me to do that is for you to leave your current patron behind and take me on as your own. It won't be an easy task, but I can help you.
I don't even know who my patron is. I didn't even know I had a patron. How can you expect me to do something with that I don't even understand?
I know. As I said, I'm not making the offer now. I have more things to show you and more ways I can help you before I will ask you to give something up like that. Plus, it won't be an easy task by far. No.
Can you? Can you? I realize this is asking a lot. Can you show me, as a sign of good faith or as proof that you can do what you do, can you show me how you will repair what I have broken? For example, can you remove what I have done to Ellie?
I can, but not tonight. No, I visited long enough tonight, but I will show you. I will make that as a promise that before I ask you to take this deal with me, I will show you the extent of my powers and how I can help.
Then I will entertain the notion of continuing with this.
So, for now, what I can do to help you is this. And she places then both of her hands on your cheeks, and you feel a power wash into you. She has now given you, you feel like your powers kind of like boosted. It's almost like they're being supercharged. And you're now going to have an extra d8 of necrotic damage to all of your attacks, magic and actual melee attacks. And she takes her hands away. Says, hopefully that will help you in what's to come. And I mean, maybe you can keep young Soter under some control. I feel he's about to be a bull in a china shop. But I will be there too. So don't worry. Next time, maybe we'll bring your brother along to this conversation. I would like to see him again, and our old friend Tix. I'm sure he will be happy to see me.
This is all becoming far beyond me, but I will talk to Eridu, and we shall see.
Very good. Leoden, perhaps don't finish your ritual tonight. Just try it. And then
Don't finish any of it?
no,
Hmm.
just try it. An experiment, we'll call it.
I don't know what to do in place of it.
What do all elves do? Meditate? Read a book? What mortals do now, but
I'll try once. Once.
well, I'll see you soon, Leoden. She stands up and sort of bows her head and turns to walk away.
Are you Bo?
She turns her and looks over her shoulder and just smiles at you, and then like bows her head and turns around and continues walking. And then the scene fades away, and you're left back in the position you were originally in. And you watch as Bo flutters and leaves the canvas of the tent, and you are left alone with your meditating brother beside you. And we'll end there for the break, I think. Yeah.
Sounds like a good place to break.
All right.
Talking to
Someone,
when we see him next.
someone's gonna get a talking to. All right. I can't wait. Let's go ahead and take our break. And if you want to see someone get a talking to, join us in about 15 minutes. We'll be right back. Thank you, everyone.